Deltarune was announced at today's Nintendo Direct, and is coming out June 5th. So that's exciting. I figured I'd take a look at the trailer and go through it frame by frame and see what we can find out. So let's get started. So it starts off with Annoying Dog here, of course. That is, classic Undertale Annoying Dog. We have the little offset nose in the middle. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. Because dogs have 4 legs. And also, of course, the 4 chapters of Deltarune, with 3 and 4 being new. So this aligns with their release plan that they've had for the last year or so. Release 3 and 4 is the next step. Also, you see here, Annoying Dog kind of bumps their head on the 2. You can see the 2 swing a little. And that knocks the Annoying Dog out onto the ground. So sad. You got the little splash effect from Undertale. Alright, and then we get a nice little new version of With You in the Dark here. That's exciting. And then that's Chris falling down in pitch black. And this is a similar colored sprite effect from some of the scenes in Chapter 2. With Chris's being the battle sprite color Chris has. And then this, of course, is Chris's Dark World armor. And then they walk over to Susie, help Susie up. Same effect, same battle sprite color for Susie. And then Susie stands up. Here comes Rousey, same deal. And this is Rousey with the hat. So that's interesting. The Chapter 2 Rousey did not have a hat, so yeah, that's cool. Another thing I wanted to point out here, if we go back a little, you'll see Susie's arm kind of moves back a little. See right there? And I think this was a slight animation error where the animation stopped in the second to last frame and didn't go to the last one until a little later. But that's okay, it still looks really cool. That, of course, being the Chapter 2 Susie sprite. And here we get into Castletown with a Deltarune logo that's a little different from most of the ones we usually see. This one has a drop shadow. Fairly crisp, almost pixelated drop shadow. So that's pretty cool. Obviously, in this case, it would be because it's fading to white, and you wouldn't be able to see it otherwise. So we also see some of the characters in Castletown here. Of course, there's Lancer and Rolls. We have C-Round. We have a Hathy, Newbert, my man, Queen, Task Manager in the upper left. And the only one in this cutscene that is from beyond Chapter 2 is that shadow guy right there. You'll see him. He's right there. But he's a Chapter 3 enemy, of course. And as it zooms out, we see a few more up at the top. We have the Swatchling, we have the Addison, Pop-Up, and top right, we have Ambulance. Alright, now we get into some of the gameplay footage. We have here, of course, the Chapter 1 K-Round fight with all the standard Chapter 1 stuff. So we have the single targeted attacks on the left. You see Rousey's highlighted. Not much to say. It's kind of the same Chapter 1 stuff. Here we get a scene from the beginning of Chapter 2 where Lancer and Susie high five. But then there's a little something extra here. If we look in the bottom right, is that popping up? It's Rules. Rules card. That's interesting. I don't really know what to make of that, but it's pretty cool. And then here we have a Light World cutscene with Sans. Me, I'm just the janitor. Yep, that's Sans. You see it's slightly cut off at the bottom. I don't know why that is, but maybe they zoomed in a little bit. But yep, that's Chapter 2. This is also Chapter 2. This is the Spamton fight. And yep, that's all standard stuff. If we look at the 122 HP Chris had, we can compare to this next scene where it has 160. So we see the new updated HP values there at the bottom. So that makes sense. And this, of course, is one of the battles we had seen in the Spamton sweepstakes, with the addition of some extra UI stuff. So we have, of course, the Shadow guys, and then the team, the party, is dressed in their suits. shooting from their finger guns what look to be little souls. The new additions, we see ammo up at the top, and it decreases with every shot. There are 3 of them, so each shot uses 3 ammo. That makes sense. And we see in the bottom there's also a timer. Maybe this is a turn timer. But the idea is you're supposed to knock their socks off. There you go, knock their socks off. And I'd assume this is all still keyboard controls. You move the crosshair with the keyboard and then shoot like Z or something. But yeah, we get a better look at that battle. See what's up with it. So this next one is the what I believe to be the Switch 2 unique room. So we see there's a left and a right, and the idea is they're controlled by the 2 mouse controls on the Switch. So you, 1 on each hand, you slide them around, block bullets, similar to the Undyne fight in Undertale. A few things to notice. At the bottom you see there maybe dog faces, maybe cat faces, and one of them's crossed out. So safe to assume these are probably lives. We also see a score counter, so this is probably a mini game. Maybe a high score will be tracked. The bullets themselves actually look like the sprites from Mad Dummy and Undertale, the little scribble cotton balls. And then the colors, we have pink and yellow, which, of course, the same colors as Spamton's glasses, so that's interesting. And then the background you see there, we have little trippy circles kind of morph around. They're colorful. You have green, yellow, and red. Not really sure what those are. Maybe it's a hint as to the location, but that's all I can make out of it. And then the next scene we have here looks like a dance stage. So you have Susie on the left jamming out some drum. You have Chris in the middle with an electric guitar, and then Rousey on the right singing. This looks like maybe a rhythm game. But one thing to notice is if you compare Chris and Rousey, they have 2 different control schemes. So I'm not sure how they'll manage that, whether it's a multi-person minigame, which would be, I mean, that's pretty rare in Deltarune. So far it's only been a 1-player game. But, I mean, maybe since Susie's crossed out, maybe this is 2 players playing a 3-person minigame. That would be interesting. That would be something they haven't really done before. But I don't really see how you could manage 3 simultaneous rhythm games at once. So, I don't know. But that's certainly interesting no matter how they do it. You see at the bottom there's a score in the bottom left and a max combo in the bottom right. That max combo of 82 seems to indicate that it's pretty long. It's not just 1 turn. Like we saw in Undertale Yellow, there was a battle with rhythm aspects, and they were in short bursts in individual turns. This seems like a kind of a longer thing. We also see at the top, it says popularity divided to popu and larity above the lights. I'm not really sure what to make of that, but I know in Undertale we had the Metaton fight where there was a popularity meter, so maybe it's something similar to that. Maybe it's lives. You have the big Chris on the left, the big Rousey on the right. Maybe it's some sort of competitive minigame, and those popularity counters are like lives, where if you mess up too much, you lose one of them. I don't know. It's pretty interesting, though. Of course, this being a stage, probably a Chapter 3 thing. And then in the background, you see it says Lightner's Live, which might also be a pun on live. Like, you have to play well to live. I don't know. But it's really interesting. This is certainly nothing we've seen before, so definitely innovating here. Now this is interesting. So this starting off, you have a very different atmosphere from everything else we've seen so far. It looks like there's some sort of a gold overlay effect on the sprites. You see they both look a little more gold than usual. There's a window shattering, or maybe some sort of glass shattering. And then Susie launches Chris up here. And I think this is a spriting mistake, where Chris has their roly-poly sprite From Chapter 2 with the teacups, they did this, but they must have forgotten to put the golden overlay, because those are still the bright Chapter 1 and 2 Dark World colors there, without the golden overlay. But anyway, Chris gets launched up here, and it looks like they're climbing on something. Hard to tell what it is, really. But you also see in the top left there, it's like stained glass windows, maybe? So maybe that signifies the church. And then Chris lands here, and you see that little square, which may signify that the tile is about to drop. You don't really get to see much of it. You also see right before it ends here, it's faint, but you see Susie's path goes left and then up and then crosses Chris's path. So I guess there are going to be some overlapping paths, kind of adding to the drama of whatever part of the game this is. You'll also notice that Ralsei isn't here, so it's just Chris and Susie. This is most likely Chapter 4, of course. We haven't really seen much of Chapter 4, but that's interesting that Ralsei's not here. It looks pretty dark as well, so that will probably be a lot of the atmosphere of Chapter 4, from what we've seen so far. And now we get to the review of the various chapters here. So you have Chapter 1 is Waiting, with the Chapter 1 having a purple effect, and that's Susie doing Red Buster against King in Chapter 1. And then goes to Chapter 2 with that green effect on Chapter 2. This is, of course, Giga Queen. Now here we are in Chapter 3. And this kind of gets at one of the questions I had was, are we going to be in the TV, or is the TV going to be a character? And this kind of shows that it really can be both, because it's a TV character within a TV. So we also see it's kind of a 3D model going back and forth here. We see the top of TV's head. And a popular belief is that this TV character is Tenna. That's who Tenna is. And we have a little evidence of that through the Spamton sweepstakes, kind of hinting at Tenna being TV related. But we know it's definitely going to be some sort of character, so you see this character, probably Tenna, does a little laugh there, along with a little chromatic aberration, the separation of the colors there, and then the red text for Chapter 3. You'll also see the TV border is actually the same TV from the Undertale PS4 launch trailer. And that is also the same TV as Flowing Undertale. In particular, that's a Toshiba Blackline 3 system CRT color television from the early 1980s, distributed in the Turkish market by the company Arçelik and manufactured and serviced by their subsidiary Beko Teknik. So, very interesting that it's the same one. I know in the PS4 trailer we had Everdread working on the part with the TV, and of course in Undertale the Photoshop Flowey was also Everdread, so there's a good chance that Everdread had a big hand in this cutscene at least. And it'll be really interesting if this is actually gameplay footage here. I mean, everything else was, so it probably is, but it's pretty different from most of the gameplay footage we've seen. Okay, and then we have Chapter 4 in blue text, and then you see those little black things. They look like they're flowing like water there. Like, you see, they're kind of like flowing like water. We did see there looked like a dock kind of scene in some of the earlier updates. So maybe that's where some of these come. But it's hard to tell what the black things are. I mean, maybe they're like insects. They kind of like they have like spider legs. I don't know, but we still have that same golden effect over the sprites. They're running on tiles with the Deltarune logos on them. In the back, you see the tiles are crumbling behind them. And Chris's sword is drawn, so you know it's a dramatic part of the game. Running for their lives there, so that's very cool to see more Chapter 4 footage. And Ralsei is also not in this part as well. So, where'd Ralsei go? I guess we'll have to play to find out. Alright, and this one, this is very much Temmie's artwork. You can see here a little animation. It is very distinct art style Temmie has in her animations. Of course, she also does most of the sprite work for Deltarune as well. But you see there, you have Susie, Chris, and Ralsei standing in front of what looks like a giant winged creature, maybe? Those look like two wings that pull apart. Maybe resembling the Deltarune logo, you know, with the winged angel on top and the 3 triangles below. Maybe this is that winged angel. So, you see the wings open up to reveal light and what looks like a giant save point shape. You see that like 4-pointed star kind of shape in the middle there? That's really cool. Another thing worth noting is, although Chris and Susie have their weapons drawn, Ralsei has his hands behind him in kind of a non-threatening, just observational pose. And then he looks up a little when the light comes. But yeah, this is also sepia colored, just like in the Legend cutscenes. And this seems like one of the, dramatic climax parts of the game. That'll be really interesting to see. But yeah, Deltarune is waiting. And there you have it. Available on Switch 2 launch day, which is June 5th. So there you have it. The trailer was about a minute long, and I feel like it gave us a little info while not revealing too much. Of course, we'll have to play the game to figure out everything else, but I think it was fun looking into this, analyzing it a bit, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. Let me know if you saw anything I missed, and thanks again. Bye!